Good morning. Good morning. How's everybody doing? Cool. We're about to worship the Lord this morning. I just want to encourage you to stand up. We're going to have the words on the screen for you. Just come on and sing along with us today. There is no life without you. You have all that we need. Where you are, every fear is broken. And the darkness must flee. Come on, closer, closer and closer. We want to know you. Reaching out, reaching out. Here in your presence, we want to go deeper. In your light, we come alive. There is no one beside you. You alone are enough. Yes, you fling the doors of your heart wide open, and we are lost in your love. Closer, we're closer and closer. We want to know you. Reaching out, reaching out. Here in your presence, we want to go deeper. In your light, we come alive. We're closer and closer. We want to know you. Reaching out, reaching out. Here in your presence, we want to go deeper. In your light, we come alive. To you, we will come running. In you, we find belonging. Your love is all that can satisfy. And to you, we will come running. In you, we find belonging. Your love is all that can satisfy. To you, we will come running. In you, we find belonging. Your love is all that can satisfy. To you, we will come running. In you, we find belonging. Your love is all that can satisfy. Closer and closer, we want to know you. Reaching out, reaching out. Here in your presence, we want to go deeper. In your light, we come alive. We're closer and closer, we want to know you. Reaching out, reaching out. Here in your presence, we want to go deeper. In your light, we come alive. Peace like a river, wash over me. immerse me in water as deep as the sea. Oh, hide me in love, your healing embrace. Peace like a river, wash over me. Come on, let's worship him this morning. As I worship your majesty, I worship your holy name. Jesus, my everything. All that I am is yours. Come, Holy Spirit, rain down on me. Break open the heavens and drench the unseen. Pour out your presence as you pour out our praise. Come, Holy Spirit, Lord, have your way as I worship your majesty. I worship your holy name. Jesus, my everything. All that I am is yours as I worship your majesty. I worship your holy name. Jesus, my everything. All that I am is yours. Open the heavens, fling wide the gates, flood every heart with mercy. Pour out your presence, inhabit our praise as we cry, holy, holy. And open the heavens, fling wide the gates, flood every heart with mercy. Pour out your presence, inhabit our praise as we cry, holy, holy. And open the heavens, fling wide the gates, flood every heart with mercy. Pour out your presence, inhabit our praise as we cry, holy, holy. As we cry, holy, Lord, send revival. Lord, send it now. A move of your spirit, heaven break out. Come now in power, cover this land like you've done it before. Would you do it again? Lord, send revival. Lord, send it now. Move of your spirit, heaven break out. Come now in power, cover this land like you've done it before. Would you? Come on, let's just lift this up in this place. Lord, send revival. Lord, send it now. A move of your spirit, heaven break out. Come now in power, cover this land like you've done it before. Would you do it again? Lord, send revival. Lord, send it now. A move of your spirit, heaven break out. Come now in power, cover heaven break out. Come now in power, cover this land like you've done it before. Would you do it again? Lord, send revival. Lord, send it now. Move of your spirit, heaven break out. Come now in power, cover this land like you've done it before. Would you do it again? Yes, God, that's just our heart's cry this morning. Lord, would you send revival? Lord, would your church just awaken? God, I just pray that as we go on with this morning, God, that you would help us to be the hands and feet of Jesus. God, that we would impact the people around us in our communities. Lord, I pray that you would reveal yourself to us. God, our friends that don't know you, God, our families that don't know you, Lord, I just pray that you would show us who you are. Lord, we just love you. We ask for your spirit to just be poured out in this place. In Jesus' name. Come on, everybody said.
All right. Welcome to Branches. How we doing today? Oh, yeah. Welcome. It's a good day. It's a good day to be here. Partially because I'm sure you guys all noticed this week we jumped straight from summer, straight into winter. Does anybody feel like they missed out on fall? Like it just kind of passed you by in like 10 seconds as it started like pouring down cold rain. How many of you guys are excited for the rain? Only in Oregon. You're like, we complain about it most of the year, but then when it's gone, we're like, no, we actually really love it. And welcome back the rain. Yeah, some people in first service were pretty excited about the rain coming back. Too excited, if you ask me. Ask me again in like a month. I actually had a thing, I think, the day after it rained. I'm like, I kind of want the sun back. I mean, that was great and all. I'm glad it's there, but I kind of am missing the sun. But hey, we get 9 more months of it, so it's okay. So if you are feeling like fall passed you by, just know something this morning at Branches has not passed you by, and that is your opportunity to grab things from the cafe. They will be slinging treats all throughout the service here at Branches. Those, if you're taking at any point in the service, you can go ahead and grab those. Restrooms are located. There's one right in the cafe, right behind it, off on the left-hand side here, and there's another one out in the commons, kind of where you came in the front door. If you're heading out that way, it's going to be on your right-hand side. Of course, please take advantage of the restroom when you need it during the service. We don't want any accidents. That would be awkward. So anyway, moving on from that, at Branches, we are building a church that we can bring our friends to, not just so we can do church with our friends, but because we are passionate about discipleship. We want to see people who are far from God coming close to God. And one of the things that that requires is for us to be a part of it. It can't just be me up here on a Sunday morning. And since Branches has been in existence, we have been heavily dependent on our wonderful volunteers. And I just want to say a special thank you to all the volunteers who have dedicated their time and energy over the years. Yeah, you guys rock. You guys are awesome. We couldn't do what we do without you. And if you're here and you're someone that wants to be a part of what Branches does on like a weekly basis, we'd love to have you part of our team. We don't want you to do it out of just like a sense of obligation or guilt or anything like that. We want people who are passionate about seeing people in this community reach for Christ. And one of my favorite departments here at Branches is Branches Kids, actually, because Danny and her team, they're just passionate about seeing the next generation reach for Christ, and that's huge. And if you're someone who's like, yeah, the next generation is like everything for me, if you're passionate about seeing the next generation reach for Christ, please be part of Branches Kids. Like, we have 2 services now. It's an incredible opportunity. You can serve in one, go to the other, be a part of all of it, make a day of it. It's a great team to be a part of, great purpose. So we'd love to have you be part of any of our teams. You can do that on our app. You can do that on our website. Another way is on the way out in the commons. There are, on the info kiosk, there's these little cards. One of them is of green color, I believe. That one's the one that says serve on it. You're going to want to grab that one. You can fill it out. You can drop it in one of our red boxes that are out in the commons. The red boxes, if you have been part of Branches for any period of time, you may have noticed those red boxes have changed a little bit. They're no longer occupying floor space. They are mounted to the walls. They're a little bit more low profile. They serve the same purpose, though. You can drop your cards that you want to get connected with small group, or you want to get to be part of our serving team. You can drop those cards in the red box. We want to occupy that, or we want to save that floor space for people. because people matter. Red boxes matter, but not as much as people. So we decided, hey, in light of all these truths, let's go ahead and mount them on the wall. But again, still serve the same purpose. You can also drop your tithes, offerings, and donations in there if you're still liking to do that the paper way. That's a great place to do that. You can also give online. Or on our app, there's an easy way to give digitally. That's what a lot of people are doing these days. That's what the kids are doing, at least. So we'd love to have you be a part and partner with us financially here at Branches as well. We have some events coming up today, in fact. If you're here with any number of family members, I would like to invite you to family time. And this is a great time with families, with kids especially. I wouldn't just say kids, I would say anywhere from like 0 to, the zeros won't get much out of it, but you guys can still come and eat pizza and get them used to it. But 0 to 18-year-old kids, if you have those with you, come be a part of family time. This is our second one. We're going to be in the upper auditorium if you just go up these stairs to the right after this service at about 11:45. We'd love for you to be part of that. Last month it was incredibly successful. We had 11 families who hung out, ate pizza. We stimulate conversation, which can be really hard. How many of you guys know that just because you live under the same roof as people, it doesn't mean you're like really well connected. I even find myself often, it's like I got my kids, I'm there for several hours, but it's like, what did we really do? How did we really connect? And so we really want to facilitate those deep interactions. And we get to talk about, like, with your kids, how your week has been, what has been difficult in your life, what has been joyful in your life, stuff like that. Do some activities as well. And we do something that's kind of fun. We do a raffle where you can win a prize, and the prize is something focused around doing stuff as a family throughout the week. And last month it was really cool because the Butcher family won the game of Twister. And if you know anything about Twister, it involves like just doing things physically and contorting your body and bumping up next to other people. And also, if you know something about the Butcher family, they are rather there's a lot of them. There's several, I think. And I know there's a few in here. You can correct me on this. I believe there's 9 of them. Is that including the parents? Something like 8? Okay. 8 is still, that's a lot. Okay, so there's 8 of them. And I'm like, I want to see a picture of all 8 of them playing Twister. I don't know if they delivered on that or not, but I still want to see that because, I mean, what a great picture that would be. It'd be difficult, but it'd be cool. But yeah, so we really want to facilitate families coming together throughout the month to encourage parents to disciple their own children, to lead their own children well. And I know as parents, the burden is always there. We don't always know how to go about it. We care about our kids so much, but we really want to facilitate how we can be better parents, be more connected as a family. That's huge, right? So that's what we're doing at Family Time. Also coming up in next Saturday, we got a harvest party going on for Branches Kids from 2 to 4. We'd love for you guys to come by, bring your costumes. There will most likely be candy and games and fun things involved. So please come. No need to RSVP to show up next Saturday at 2 p.m. Hang out for a harvest party because it's going to be awesome. So we'd love to invite you to be a part of that. Okay, so last weekend, women's retreat happened. Ladies, where you at? I heard good things. I heard good things, lots of good things about ladies retreat. I also, for me, it's a yearly reminder. Amongst other things, it's always a good time, I'm told. But it's a great reminder for me not to take my wife for granted because, it happens sometimes. And then she's gone for 2 nights, and I'm like, shoot, I'm going to need her back pretty soon here. Just a yearly reminder for me. So if nothing else, I know it was so much more than that, but for me, don't take your spouses for granted. That was huge and a great lesson for me. So welcome back, ladies. Glad you had a chance to even be connected with Be Rich during that time too. I heard you guys had a plug for it. But with that little segue, if you weren't able to connect with Be Rich, we are in the middle of this series called Be Rich, where we as a church get to do together, we get to do corporately what so many of you do throughout the year individually, and that's just be generous. And that's what this series is all about, is being generous in tangible ways in our community. And last week we just talked about how blessed we are as Americans, how blessed we are. And that doesn't mean that we should feel guilty. That doesn't mean that we should just sit here and feel bad about how blessed we are, but it does make us responsible. We are responsible to steward well what God has given us and to be generous to the people around us that are in need. So we talked about that as just like a call to give financially to these 3 nonprofits that we have partnered with this year that are doing a great work in our community. And along with being generous financially, we are also stewards of our time. The reality is, I could ask each and every one of you and say, how you doing? You'd probably tell me busy. Yeah, we're all busy, but we also all have 24 hours in a day, and we get to choose what we do with that time. And I believe that as we are to be called good stewards of our time, that involves giving of our time to the people around us, the people in need. And when we give of our time, it meets such a tangible need. And you get to see the work right away. And so what we've done with these nonprofits that we're partnering with this week is we've actually had, we put together several serve opportunities. And just like last week, we talked about not having a goal of money that we're going to sit here with a thermometer and when it reaches the top we can all leave the room or whatever. We're not doing that, but we do have a participation goal, and we are asking for 100% participation in both the financial giving part. We're not going to tell you how much to give, but we're going to tell you should give. We're not going to tell you how many hours to give, but we're going to tell you should serve. And so we have some opportunities coming up just around the corner. We'll have a QR code here in a bit that you can take a picture of, and it'll link you to get connected with those serve opportunities. Mike and his team will also be out in the commons on the way out, so make sure to stop by the info kiosk to get signed up. This isn't, I don't want to say it's not optional, but it's kind of not optional. Just do it, all right? Serve. I won't hold you to it, but, actually I could, so I don't know. We'll see. Just do it, and we won't have any issues. Sign up to serve. We'd love for you to partner with these local nonprofits that are doing such a great work. We have several opportunities. Most of them take place on 11/5, so that's about 2 weeks from now on a Saturday from 10 to noon. There's a couple serve projects that we're going to be doing, and we also have the opportunity to partner with some of these nonprofits kind of longer term. They don't fall specifically within Be Rich, but we want to present that need that they have so that we can, as a church, come alongside them and support them with our time. But yeah, I could talk about serving myself. I could talk about that all day, but it probably, it might mean something else coming from somebody else who has actually spent a lot of time with one of these specific nonprofits. I want to invite Allison up to talk about RCO. What's going on, Allison?
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. It's a pleasure to have you up here. And you actually, you have some experience with one of the nonprofits here.
Yeah, so I actually grew up going to church with Abby Olson, who is the director of Riverside Community Outreach, and I grew up watching her foster and adopt many kids, and out of her love for helping foster families, she has started RCO. And so not only have I been able to serve with RCO like lots of you guys have through the last couple of years, but I've actually been the beneficiary of a lot of their services as well. So my husband and I were foster parents for 4 years, and RCO was able to come alongside us in our journey as a foster family and support us through that.
Right, and so not only being a recipient of their good work that they're doing, you've actually been a part of what they're doing as well.
Yeah,
correct?
that's right. Yeah, so Riverside Community Outreach, if you were to take a foster child and draw a big circle around them, their goal is to serve anybody that comes into that circle that is already serving the foster child. So people like foster families, obviously, but also biological families and DHS and caseworkers and attorneys and people that work in that court system as well. So one of the things that they do is they will host lunches for the local DHS offices around town just to say, hey, thanks for the good, hard work that you guys do. Another thing that they do is the goal of foster care is to return children home to their biological families, and they support with that transition as kids move back home with their families through offering tangible goods like laundry detergent and groceries and things that they need to make their transition back home successful. And then as far as supporting foster families, that's where I've really been supported with them. So they run something called the Foster Closet. My small group's actually been able to serve and organize the foster closet several times, but when you get the phone call that there's a kid coming into foster care and they might be coming to your house, you don't get like weeks and months notice, you get maybe a couple of hours, and oftentimes you don't have things laying around the house that are going to fit that kid, or if you're getting a baby, you might not have the crib set up, and you might not have the car seat and the stroller and those things. And so through the Foster Closet, Riverside Community Outreach shows up at your door with a lot of those tangible items to help you love that foster child well. So that's been a huge blessing for our family.
Yeah, what a great opportunity to serve such a tangible need. I don't think people often grasp like what goes into like, it's one thing to have a baby. That's a big deal. And we like to surround people in our community who have children and just provide meals and stuff like that. But to get like a child that's like walking around usually or sometimes, and like that's quite the shift in family dynamic. And there's a lot, I'm sure, that goes along with that. And for an organization to come alongside a family who's really pouring out their life for another kid is vital.
Yeah,
so that's huge.
It's been a huge help.
And we got another opportunity to serve with them actually on 11/5. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so there's a few different ways that you can get involved, but up here there's a QR code going to be put on the screen. You can scan that with your phone, or you can go to berich.org/serve, and you'll see an opportunity to do some landscaping work. So if you are in the gardening landscaping business, or you have a shovel and some gloves and can help out, on November 5th, you have the opportunity to help the Iron Tribe House, which is where a lot of biological parents are living and working on getting healthy and living in recovery. So you have the opportunity to help make their environment nice and beautiful. But there's also an opportunity outside of Be Rich that I am super excited and super passionate about, and that is Foster Parent Night Out. This has been a huge blessing to my family as we were walking our journey of fostering. And Foster Parent Night Out is once a month through the school year where a foster family shows up to a church in St. Helens, and we drop our kids off, and the parents get 4 hours of free babysitting, a date night. And our kids, biological kids as well as foster kids, the whole family goes and has a wonderful experience. And this is not just like, hey, kids, here's a hot dog and a movie, watch this for a few hours. Like, they go to the nines for the kids. It's like VBS, like bounce houses, like structured activities, like lots of people there loving on our kids. And our kids would look forward to going. It was a huge blessing to us. When you are living in the world of foster parenting, it's stressful. You are dealing with the trauma of a kid that has just come into your home and how that's changed the environment and trying to love them well. You're dealing with attorneys showing up to your house and caseworkers and court dates, and it just gets really stressful. So to have this time that we knew was coming every single month where we would just get this built-in date night where we would just get to reconnect and just be blessed by it was huge. So that being said, it doesn't happen if people don't sign up to help and make it happen, and so that's where we're asking you guys to get involved. It is a little bit more of a commitment than just the one-time Be Rich Serve Day, but you get to develop relationships over time, and it's a really, really neat opportunity. So you won't find that on the link today, but I will be out at the Info Center with Abby Olson after service, and we would love to talk with you more about that. There is an age requirement, an age minimum to serve, and then there is also some background check and training involved. But I will say, if you don't have kids at home right now, or if you don't have kids yet, this is a fantastic opportunity to love on kids in the community. So please sign up. They need about 25 volunteers, so it takes a good group of people, and it actually kicks off next month. So if that's something you're interested in, talk with Abby and I after service.
Thanks, Allison.
Yeah, thank
That's
you guys.
Awesome. Thank you. And that's just one of our 3 nonprofits that we're partnering with during Be Rich. There's so much good that needs to be done here and so many opportunities to serve. When I hear about the Foster Parenting Night Out, I just think of like what a great time with your spouse just to go serve with them and do something as a couple that's so meaningful and productive and helpful to the people around you, and also life-giving for your own marriage. I think that would be a great thing. But just know that doesn't fit within exactly our Be Rich. That's more of a long-term thing. So get connected with RCO if that's something that you're interested in doing, but also make sure you sign up to serve here on 11/5 with that QR code. We'll have it back up at the end of service so you can snap a picture or link it on your camera. Yeah, so I'm excited for that. Shifting gears from that, we actually have a unique opportunity today. I learned a couple months ago that a dear friend would be in town on this date, but I'm like, it falls in the middle of Be Rich, but I'm like, we have to have her here. We have to hear from her. If you guys have heard me preach for any period of time, you've probably heard me talk about some struggles in the past with anxiety and just my need and desire for ongoing counseling. And as a couple, too, I don't think you can ever have too much counseling. I mean, inviting someone to your life to speak the truth and love on like a routine basis is vital, I think, for all of us. So I'm like, as long as I can afford it, I'm going to be I'm going to invite that feedback into my life. And today we have the opportunity to have actually my counselor here. She has moved during COVID to Colorado, and so now we meet via Zoom. But we've still been meeting up, and she was in town for a marriage conference in Hillsboro, and she's like, hey, I'd love to come check out Branches and see what you guys are doing. And I'm like, would you like to share? She was like, heck yeah, let's do it. So she's here today. She didn't say it like that, I promise, but in my mind, that's how people talk sometimes. But anyway, so Brandy is here with us today, and we get to hear from my counselor, Brandy Walter. So Brandy, I want to welcome you up. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Timmy, and heck yeah, I'm happy to be here. I was really looking forward to coming back to the Northwest. It was December of 2020 that my husband and I moved to Colorado Springs. And in my mind, as I was envisioning this week that I was coming and looking at your weather, I was envisioning like the beautiful Portland fall that I missed. And then I looked at my phone and I was coming back into town for the gray and the rain. So that was a bummer. But for those of you who liked the rain, I'm glad for you that it's here. So if you don't know much about me, I'll just give you a little background on me. I would say the most formative experience of my life was when I was 11. The family that I grew up in had family violence. And so I actually, after an episode of domestic violence, watched my dad be arrested in front of me at age 11 and taken away just for a night. But that gives you a little picture of the family that I grew up in. Out of that brokenness, that's how I started a relationship with God. It's also how I decided that if I could spend my life helping couples and families, maybe less kids and teens would go through what I went through. I met my husband when I was 15 and he was 14, and we started dating. And he also came from a family with family violence, so we spent most of our high school years escaping our households together, and got married at 19 and 20. So we grew up in Seattle, moved to Portland to go to Multnomah University, decided that the 3-hour distance from our families was a good thing, and stayed in the Portland area for 20 years, got my, roughly 20 years. I got my master's in marriage and family therapy, and started a counseling practice, and enjoyed it being here until God kind of opened this door and brought us to Colorado Springs pretty suddenly, December of 2020. So that's a little bit about me. I have a question for you. How do you feel about your name? How do you feel about your name? Do you know the meaning of your name? I have spent all of my life until last year not liking my name for a couple reasons that I will share. But have you been in any of those conversations with people? It's usually for me been when a friend is picking a baby name, and then people start talking about the meanings of names, and then everyone's sharing the meaning of their name, and people are sharing all of these beautiful meanings. Like, I have a friend named Vicky whose name means victory, and so people's names mean peace, grace. Does anyone know the meaning of their name? Call it out. Angel? Leaf? Leaf? Is that what someone said? Okay. What else? Strong. See? Strong. Angel. So I would be in these conversations with friends, and they'd say all these beautiful meanings, and then we would get to, my name's Brandy, and it means warm alcoholic beverage. Like, it just didn't feel very meaningful. Warm amber liquid, that's the drink, that's me, okay. So I always wished I had a beautiful meaning for my name. And then the second reason I didn't like my name, have you heard the song from the 70s, Brandy? Yeah, it's super catchy, and for those of you, maybe if you've seen Guardians of the Galaxy 2, it's like highly featured in that. So my whole life, if people have heard the song, what's your name? Nice to meet you. I'm Brandy. They start singing the song to me, and it's really, really catchy, actually. And you would think I would like it, but if you actually read the whole lyrics and the whole story, it's about a woman named Brandy who falls in love with a sailor, but the sailor doesn't pick her because his first love is the sea. So she's second to the sea. And I have had a lot of experiences of being second in life, being second choice, not being chosen. My husband and I have been together a long time, and we had a season where I felt second to his work. To be fair, we've also had a season where he felt second to my friends and social media and stuff, so we've both had those seasons. But I've had a lot of experiences of feeling second place, second choice, not chosen. When I was in high school, a couple friends decided they didn't want to be friends with me anymore and decided to take me out to lunch to tell me that. So they took me out to lunch and then told me they didn't want to be friends with me anymore, and then offered to give me a ride home, and I was like, no, thanks, that's okay. So, and then they stopped talking to me. So if you're like me, maybe you've had some hurtful experiences with people in your life where you got some sort of message about yourself, some sort of label, like second choice. Maybe you've gotten an argument with your spouse and something comes out like you're crazy or over-emotional or too needy or some sort of label. And those labels and those names have left wounds and made an imprint in us. And sometimes we then feel like that's our identity because the enemy wants to try to name us with negative labels and tell us that that is who we are. And so I'm actually going to share a story of how God reconciled me to my name, because what God does is he gives us new names and new labels, and that's a part of our healing process. So in Hosea, it says, I will plant her for myself in the land. I will show my love to the one I called not my loved one. I will say to those called not my people, you are my people. And they will say, you are my God. So if you know anything about the scriptures and people's stories of their relationships with God, or people in our lives and their stories of growing in relationship with God, people become transformed and renamed. And so someone who feels not wanted is wanted. Someone who feels not chosen is chosen. That's part of what God does with us. If we think about the biblical theme of names for a little bit, names show closeness, right? So to know someone by name kind of means you know them. They know you. We also have nicknames. So we have 4 sets of family, 4 sets of parents, my husband and I. And one of my in-laws, their nickname is Sass. So what does that tell you about? You kind of have a little bit of idea of their personality from that nickname. So we have nicknames, we have names for each other, and it kind of shows closeness, that we have some sort of relationship. And it's the same with God. He says, but now this is what the Lord says. He who created you, Jacob, he who formed you, Israel, do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have summoned you by name. You are mine. So God isn't just this big nebulous energy force God out there who doesn't know us personally. He knows us by name. And the Lord said to Moses, I will do the very thing you have asked because I'm pleased with you and I know you by name. So he knows us personally and knows us by name, and even by our more true names than we might put on for ourselves at the moment. So those of us who have a relationship with God, we have a lot of labels we could call ourselves or names that we could go by. And we all have kind of common names that God gives us. For example, we're called friends of God, which is amazing. I no longer call you servants because a servant does not know his master's business. Instead, I have called you friends. For everything that I learned from my Father, I have made known to you. We're also called children. We're brought into the family of God. So we're called sons and daughters, which is a huge, amazing, wonderful thing. Yet to all who did receive him, to those who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God. So we all kind of have common names: sons, daughters, family, friends. beloved. There's a lot of names in Scripture for us, just in common. But then we also can get more specific names from God personally as he communicates to us and as he shares with us who he sees that we are. There are also times where people get renamed in their transformation journey, and we have several examples of that in Scripture. So we'll do a little quiz. Abram became, yes, good job, Abraham. No longer will you be called Abram, for your name will be Abraham, for I have made you a father of many nations. So that spoke to his identity, true identity. He got renamed. Okay, next one in your quiz. Sarai became, yes, Sarah. God also said to Abraham, as for Sarai, your wife, you are no longer to call her Sarai. Her name will be Sarah. I will bless her and surely give you a son by her. I will bless her so that she will be the mother of nations. Kings of people will come from her. So that was a significant, pivotal moment of being renamed. Next one in your quiz. Jacob becomes Israel. Yes. The man said, "What's your name?" He answered, "Jacob." But the man said, "No longer. Your name is no longer Jacob. From now, it's Israel, God wrestler." I love that. God wrestler. You've wrestled with God and you have come through. Oh, that's powerful. You've wrestled with God and you have come through. I have a feeling that some of us have had that experience in here too. Okay, so the last one for your quiz. Simon becomes, yes, Peter. And I tell you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not overcome it. So God is in the business of giving us new names, names that are more appropriately reflect our true identity. And as we walk with him, we have a journey of transformation, sometimes a journey of pain and suffering and transformation. And part of our healing journey is actually hearing our new names for God. So we've had hurtful experiences where we were called this or that, or we saw ourselves as this or that, not wanted, not seen, not cared for. And he comes and says, you are seen, you are cared for. And he might even have specific names for each of us. So that might be something you haven't thought of before, and maybe you have. And maybe some of you have already kind of heard some specific names or labels that God gives you. But that's kind of my invitation this morning, is to think about that and to listen for that, because he has a label or a name for you, multiple names, in fact. So there's a scripture in Revelation. Whoever has ears, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. To the one who is victorious, I will give some of the hidden manna. I will also give that person a white stone with a new name written on it, known only to the one who receives it. So I'm going to share the story with you of how God reconciled me to my name, and I have the symbol with the white stone. So I told you the history of how I felt about my name until last year, so my entire life not being excited about it. So last summer of 2021, I think it was, I was in a prayer time, just really crying out to God, going through hard things in my family, really needing to hear from him. It was a morning. And then my next thing in my morning routine is to go swimming, lap swimming. So I went over to the gym, and I'm in the locker room getting ready. And this has never happened before. It hasn't happened since. The kind of, like you can kind of picture in your mind, right, the music that usually is played in the gym. So I'm getting ready in the locker room this one particular morning, and my song comes on. And it was actually really painful because I knew it wasn't just on randomly. I knew that it was God who had made it happen that particular morning. And it just, it poked a hole in my heart. And I was like, God, why did you play that? That really hurts. I hate that song. But then I felt like I heard in my mind and my heart, he said to me, "You're second, no more." And I thought, okay, like I long for that. That sounds wonderful. I'm glad you weren't just doing it as a joke or to spite me. What am I? I'm second, no more. What am I? And there wasn't an answer at that moment, but he was preparing me to let me know that he was going to do some healing in that area, and he had something to say to me about that. So I go through the rest of my summer and fall, and I head into a women's retreat. And I go to this women's retreat. Leading up to the women's retreat, in prayer times, I had a picture in my mind sometimes of fire, and I didn't understand what it meant. I was like, okay, Lord, am I supposed to pray for like refining fire, like you're refining something in me? I don't know, but I kept picturing fire. So I go to this women's retreat, and they had times of silence and kind of listening prayer afterwards, which, if you're not familiar with, listening prayer is not only taking the time to express to God what you want to communicate, but kind of sitting in silence and waiting to hear what he has to say to you. So we go through a session at the women's retreat, and the session is actually on this very topic of God giving us new names. And the speaker was talking about how God has a new name for each of you and has something that he wants to say to each of you about how he sees you and what he calls you. And afterwards, we were encouraged, there was like a time of worship, but we were encouraged to sit in silence and just sit there with God and ask him, who do you say I am? What do you call me? I know I've been through these experiences and I have these labels in my mind of myself, but who do you say I am? What do you call me? Do you have a new name for me? So, context, since I moved to Colorado Springs, I had up to that point been feeling very empty and without impact. I realized once I was stripped of everything, moved somewhere in the middle of COVID and have no friends and have to make friends but have no way to meet people. And thankfully, I got to keep my counseling practice, and I still get to meet with people from Oregon online. That was just like the one thing I kept. I was stripped of everything else, and I realized I had been used to feeling like I made an impact, and I didn't have that anymore. I felt empty, like I wasn't making an impact anywhere. And months and months and months of feeling empty and like I'm not making an impact. So I'm sitting with the Lord in this time, asking him, who do you say I am? And I feel like I heard the name that he gave me. I actually got two things during that time, but the first thing that I heard was the word fruitful. And I knew that it was him. Sometimes, you kind of don't know if you're making something up and like, am I hearing this right? But I knew that was him because that's not a word in my regular vocabulary that I just use or think about. But he was basically saying, you are fruitful, like you are making an impact, and you will be fruitful. So it was kind of a promise that I wasn't going to be feeling empty and without impact forever, and that I would have something where I could make an impact in Colorado Springs. So it was both a description, but also like mostly a promise because I was feeling very empty at the time. So he called me fruitful, which I felt grateful for because I felt empty long enough. So at the retreat, they had these white stones based on this Revelation scripture that you could go down to the front to grab a stone and write, use a Sharpie and write the name that God gave you on the stone. And you could also grab a stone because you don't always hear things right away. Maybe it'll be a week or two later, so you could grab a stone and write on it when you get a name from God. So I went down and I grabbed the stone and I wrote the word fruitful on it. I also had one of the women leaders there praying over me during that time. And it was in the prayer that I got the second thing, which is the conclusion to this story. she was praying and she said the word fiery. And I just knew in my heart that I finally figured out what the pictures of fire were that I had been seeing when I was praying. And God was giving me a redemptive meaning of my name so that I didn't have to say, well, my name means warm amber liquid. It kind of, brandy kind of like burns on the way down. It can be warm, fiery. So now, if I'm in a conversation and people are like, what does your name mean? I can say fiery instead of warm amber liquid. I was very grateful. And so there was healing in that moment for me with my name. And then what was even more special to me was after that time, in conversations in my mind and heart with the Lord, he started using my name. And I didn't realize until he used it that he had never used it with me before. He had just talked to me. And it felt so special because he knew how much my name had hurt, that he didn't actually use it with me until I was reconciled to it. So it was really special. So this idea of a new name is not just for me, it's for all of us. All of us are on a journey, maybe feeling close to God or not, but he has a label and a name for you that's more in line with your true identity. And he's all about healing everything that is wounded and hurt in our lives, like our relationship to our name. So what we're going to do is take a moment where I'll guide you through, and we will do some listening prayer. And if you're new to it, you could just sit in silence with your eyes closed. You might find something coming to mind, like your grocery list or what you need to do for the kids and stuff, and that's okay. You might feel like you don't hear anything. You might hear something 2 weeks from now, but we're just going to give God an opportunity to speak to your heart and your mind, and we're going to ask him who he says you are. If he has a name for you, a word to describe you, and just sit and see if he does. I will guide you through it. If you're new to a relationship with God and it's like your first time talking to him, that's great. He wants to communicate with you. You can ask him. So you can participate however you want. I will lead you through it. But go ahead and close your eyes. God, we invite you to speak to us right now. Who do you say I am? I've had a lot of hurtful experiences with a lot of labels and names, but who do you say I am?
free. Oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. Free at last, He has ransomed me. Oh, His grace runs deep. Well, I was a slave to sin. Jesus died for me. Yes, He died for me. Who the Son sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. I am for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. Oh, I am who you say I am. The Son sets free. You is free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am.
Father, we thank you that you call us by a new name, Lord. And I just ask that as we go throughout this week, that you would speak to us, that you would show us who we are called to be, Lord. And help us just to cast off anything that the enemy has told us that we believed, lies about ourselves and how we're less than what you've called us to be. God, help us to walk in the reality that you have called us to a better life, a life full of peace, a life full of joy, and a life full of purpose, Lord. Help us to settle for nothing less than what you've called us into, Jesus. We thank you. We thank you that we get our identity from you and you alone, Lord. Help us to walk in the truth of that this week, God. All right, Branches. We got family time today. Hang out upstairs after church. We got pizza. We got a good time coming. Love you guys. Be blessed. If you want to connect with Branch,